Review of The Rookie Season 8 Episode 3, Lucy's Darkest Trauma and Seth's Redemption. The quality of these episodes keeps improving. We saw an unexpected reunion and a return to a plot from a previous season in last night's brand new episode of The Rookie. Miles and Seth get back together. The sneak peek that was released prior to the episode's premiere let us know that Miles and Seth would be getting back together, so this was not surprising. There were a couple things, though, that I did not anticipate. To begin with, Seth was still on an apology tour, which I can understand because everyone he has ever lied to deserves an apology from him. However, I don't think he truly understands what it means to apologize. Even when he tried to regain the trust of his former fellow officers, he continued to play the victim card as if his actions weren't his fault. For a brief moment when we were reintroduced to Seth, I felt sorry for him because, in his own misguided way, he did his own vices, and when Miles paid him a visit to make amends. There are piles of dishes and rubbish all over the place. Miles offers to assist him, but he declines. By bringing up his football injuries, Miles was making an effort to connect with Seth, but they are not comparable. Yes, Seth is correct when he adds that, you can still run. Miles couldn't comprehend that Seth had to have his leg amputated after being shot in the leg. I stopped feeling sorry for Seth when Miles made the decision to listen to him. Seth continues to have a, woe is me, mentality and doesn't see why coming clean wasn't sufficient for everyone. Miles corrects him, pointing him that the idea isn't that difficult. Seth still didn't understand when he said, you don't get to set the bar on how people react when you finally tell the truth. Miles deserves praise for attempting to make amends, but Seth had to earn it politely. I believe he's finally getting there, people, even though it took a while. Seth has a lot of character development to accomplish and is beginning to realize that what he did was wrong. He visited Miles and said that he wants to improve but doesn't know how. He went to Miles' house and said that he wants to improve but doesn't know how. Seth, there you have it. Admitting that you are the issue is the first step. Let's just hope that this is the start of a better Seth. I want to see him improve. Lucy takes her time getting used to it. It's understandable that Tim feels irritated by the boxes everywhere. This is a significant step for them, and it's obvious that Tim wants their routine to be in sync, which is impossible while Lucy is still unpacked. But can we discuss the growth? They are speaking to each other. This scene might have easily ended with one or both of them dismissing the issue and allowing it to consume them till they were fighting about it, making something so straightforward into something more complicated than it needed to be. Tim is right when he says that, it won't feel like you've fully moved in until the boxes are gone. We can acknowledge that this is a legitimate justification for wanting the boxes to go, right? Lucy is right, it will be more effective if they take their time. Tim concurs, and we applaud their capacity for compromise. After a long workday, Lucy agreed that the boxes needed to be removed and wished to return home peacefully when it came time to unpack. Ironically, though, she assigned Tim this duty while she supervised. They're compromising once more. I'm rapidly coming to love this new phase of Tim and Lucy. John discovers a piece of a cold case that is missing. This was such a heartbreaking scenario. John brought someone in who had been caught trespassing, which allowed them to get a break in a cold case. A few years ago, there was a triple homicide that claimed the lives of a husband and wife as well as their daughter, whose body was never located. Their fingerprint was the only thing they had, and it didn't match anyone in the database. The missing pieces of this case began to fit together once Ezra Cain's fingerprints were obtained. John is tasked with interviewing him as he was the cop who made the arrest. Normally, I would object to this, the detective should have done it, but John manipulates suspects by using his empathy in a way that essentially makes them confess. It was wise of Nyla and Angela to let John take the initiative. When Ezra's stolen credit cards were examined for recent expenditures, one of them revealed a recent motel charge. When Lucy and Selena go to investigate, they discover that Samantha Poston, the girl who was thought to have been killed along with her family, is still alive and has been held captive for a long time. This gave me goosebumps. I got chills because Ezra sat there and told this narrative as though he wasn't the one who killed Samantha's family and kept her hostage the whole time. His personality immediately changed, and it became clear that he was a psychopath. His whole attitude shifted as soon as he realized he was being watched. He even disclosed that he had kidnapped another girl. Samantha overhears Selena telling Lucy that Ezra wants to speak with her and that he will only release the other girl he is holding captive close to the Red Place if he does so. Samantha becomes irrationally angry as a result of this. You could see how much Ezra had to go through for her to feel the need to hurt herself in the manner that she did in this tragic scenario. Fortunately, they were able to locate the missing girl without causing Samantha any more anguish. If John hadn't taken Ezra in for something as obviously insignificant as trespassing, the matter would never have been resolved. Recall of the Day of Death. Although Lucy has previously mentioned the episode, Day of Death, Season 2, Episode 11, she is now discussing it more than she has in years. Yes, I do mean a glimpse, as I believe there may have been more, even though she is discussing it. But it's a start. Selena mentions that they haven't really discussed what happened to Lucy when they are traveling to the motel. Evening brought up the situation with her sister, which in my opinion would have been the ideal chance to elicit a reaction from Lucy, but it was insufficient to get her to do so. Lucy informs Selena that she doesn't want to revisit that specific tragedy. I might be getting to this point, but it seemed to me that Lucy didn't put in the effort necessary to accept what she had experienced. I'll go on to state that as Lucy is conversing with Samantha and obtaining information, it seems as though she is speaking to a former version of herself that was a kidnapped victim. She's saying things that she needed to hear at the time, and as a result, she started to defend herself. Selena's protectiveness was evident to Lucy when she asked to talk to her and explained Ezra's expectations. She was heard telling Selena, "No, forget that. He just wants to keep traumatizing her." Selena is perplexed when Samantha locks herself in the room, but Lucy soon realizes that the Red Room was probably a trigger for Samantha. Returning to Lucy's situation, I am immediately reminded of her being triggered twice, once when Rosalind sings the song she sung in the barrel, Season 3, Episode 1, and again when she learns Rosalind has fled custody, Season 5, Episode 1. Although Lucy clearly did not follow Samantha's path when she tried to harm herself, this undoubtedly caused Lucy to feel something, and it initiates the dialogue that we have been longing for. Lucy confides in Samantha about her experiences. Once more, it seems as though Lucy is speaking to her former self throughout this exchange, and it felt like the beginning of their mutual recovery. I don't mind being the only one who thinks this, but Lucy still needs to recover. I wish she had talked more about her experiences at home with Tim. We all seen his behavior during her kidnapping, so it would have been wonderful if he had brought it up once more to see how she was doing with today's events, even if it was only to say, "I'm here if you ever want to talk about it." I want to hear from you, but I could talk about this episode for hours on end. Tell us what you think of The Red Place below. Star visitor in the opening scene with Nolan, David Krumholtz, who portrayed Isidore Isaac Rabi in Oppenheimer, appears. Astute fans realized right away that this was more than just a cameo because their exchange lacked the rookie's unique sense of humor. Ezra Kane, played by Krumholtz, was detained by Nolan for sneaking into a building after hours, but one of his fingerprints is connected to a violent double murder and the abduction of a teenage girl. It's similarly obvious why an actor like Krumholtz was required to perform this role, since all but two of Kane's scenes took place in the interrogation room. His portrayal deviates from the typical method actors use for a role such as this. John Nolan, the Force's youngest rookie at first, nearly made a career error that would have ruined the show. Instead of pursuing his dream of becoming a detective, he ended himself serving as the officer instructing the rookies. The rookie reiterates that Nolan's abilities are best displayed in a beat cop's uniform when he is asked to interrogate Kane by the detectives. Before Mikia Cox's Nyla Harper and Alyssa Diaz's Angela Lopez take over, Kane tells Nolan that his "ah shucks" attitude tricked him. Several of the rookie's numerous unpardonable villains are serial murderers. Although Kane is not a mastermind, he thinks he is Amen, the name of an esoteric marquis of hell. When Krumholtz finds out, he doesn't change his portrayal of Kane, rather than becoming insane or subtly menacing. He no longer acts like a destitute vagrant. Despite his increased self-assurance, he still speaks in a tone and manner that is almost kind. It may be argued that this makes Cain even more terrifying because he appears to be so easily undervalued. The rookie keeps asking viewers to put aside their skepticism over the cases. Chen and Selena Juarez, played by Seth Chavez, quickly discover an adolescent girl named Cain who has been imprisoned for years. She claims he referred to her as his soulmate and assured her that he controlled the cops. This girl nearly died as a result of underestimating Cain's taste for what can only be described as evil. She reacted furiously and nearly perished when she heard Chen mention the episode's title. Later on, in a flashback to one of Chen's best episodes, she is able to reassure the girl in a way that is intended to bring this story to a positive conclusion. Nolan and the others also find Julie, a new victim, when looking into why Cain was at a public recreation center so late at night. Although she only makes one appearance, the second half of The Red Place revolves around the hunt for her. Nolan gets to be a hero despite Cain's obvious lack of assistance. He arrives just in time to save Julie's life. This portion of the episode is intended to frighten the audience before releasing them, much like Chen's encounter with the other survivor. To be honest, it's astonishing that neither The Red Place nor last week's avoided spectacular shooting resulted in any deaths. Because its protagonists almost always act morally, the rookie virtually mythologizes them. Whether it's apprehending the villains or the protagonist's profound empathy for some of the convicts, they are nearly too perfect. This strategy may be the reason The Rookie is one of the most watched police procedurals right now, despite the fact that it may be a disadvantage for others. Given the current state of the world, especially with regard to law enforcement, it can be pleasant for people to act as though such police officers actually exist. In order to keep viewers interested, good TV dramas frequently expose their characters to terrible situations. Sometimes The Rookie doesn't handle this the best. Nolan, for instance, saw more action in his first year than the majority of real-world police officers do in their entire careers. However, the program can also use the traumas of its characters to highlight a different kind of bravery. Although Nolan may have spared Julie, Chen's admission to the other survivor about her own encounter with a serial killer is equally courageous. She assures the character that there is a future beyond the worst day of their lives, as well as possibly others in the audience who might need to hear it. A character from Season 7 is brought back by The Rookie, and he's finally intriguing. Naturally, The Rookie also contains a few tales of dishonest police officers. One of them in Season 7 was Seth Ridley, played by Patrick Kelleher. He was a liability as a new recruit due to his pathological lying, which included lying about having cancer. He never falsely accused someone or rigged an investigation, unlike other dishonest police officers. Rather, he fabricated a number of terrible incidents in order to attract sympathy and add interest to himself. He also covered up his numerous errors with these lies. Ridley was the first trainee dismissed from the force on The Rookie, despite Nolan and other rookies receiving several threats about washing out. The contentious rookie returned to the force after suing to challenge the dismissal. In addition to saving Nolan's life, Ridley seemed to genuinely want to be a decent police officer. But he lost it after a shotgun blast to his leg. In Season 7, he nearly got into a fight with Miles Penn, played by Derek Augustine, a friend from the academy. In The Red Place, Penn attempts to make amends for the way their relationship ended by reaching out to a sad Ridley. Penn is sympathetic to him and wants to assist him, just like all the other regular characters on The Rookie. Despite its popularity, The Rookie occasionally mishandles the plots of significant characters. For Ridley, who had no empathy at all, this was nearly true. The Red Place first argues that, as he bemoans to Penn the refusal of forgiveness from everyone he deceived, particularly his father. This is a wise decision that expands upon the previous one. All of his lies to elicit compassion, aside from his cancer claim, were about how he was traumatized by other people's experiences. He believes that by lying to others, he has earned what he was seeking after going through a genuine experience.